What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and this is going to be my analysis and breakdown of the Wind Tribe banner that we have got as the new seasonal theme. So last year we had the Fire Tribe banner, this year it is Wind Tribe, maybe next year it is the Ice Tribe with Felicia and stuff. So the first unit of this banner is going to be my boy Claude, and he is the strongest Claude that we've got in the game yet. So he is a green dagger flyer, which is really good because flyers do have amazing mobility and can also run guidance 4, soaring guidance for the support, and his playful pinwheel is such a strong weapon. So this gives him minus on special cooldown, so lethality becomes a 3 cooldown special, and at start of turn, if his HP is at or above 25%, then he can give himself the null follow-up status and the null panic status. So null follow-up status is really good because if you're trying to use him with something like Brave Crom, then it works out nicely as Brave Crom can just copy this. And null panic is even more common now, so Ashera losing more value as time goes on. And this kind of status is going to be really synergetic, as you'll see. So at start of combat, if his HP is at or above 25%, then he can get +5 to all of these stats, and then he can get even more attack and speed in combat depending on the total number of bonus status on him and the negative status on the foe. So the penalty effects are basically stuff like sabotage status on the opponent, or the stall status or exposure. Anything that is negative status, it is counted there. And the bonus status is stuff like the orders buff that he gets from his Slotsy skill, and null follow-up status and null panic, which he gets from his weapon. So all of those do count as the bonus status, and it does not really include the visible buff or the visible debuffs on the enemy. So this is basically the sum of it times 2. So this is going to be giving him extra attack and speed in combat, which is really good offensively because nowadays you just don't want to have like +5 speed. You want to have even more speed because the speed creep is so insane nowadays. So if you want to double, you definitely want to have more speed. And then if you can trigger a damaging special, then he can get the special cooldown count in the combat before his first attack. So this is kind of similar to Rally Spectrum that we have seen, and firstly this was seen on Brave Tiki, and this is insane compared to that. Guard effects are not going to be stopping this. The only way to counter this is the Scowl effect and the Scowl skills. So he's going to be able to get the special cooldown before his first hit on his first attack, depending on the total number of bonus status active on him. Again, this does not really include the visible buffs, it does mean the bonus status. So again, null follow-up status, null panic status from his weapon, and the order status from his Slotsy skill. It is all going to be counted towards this lethality, and this is going to be really making him an amazing nuke because he can trigger like lethality twice in a combat, which is like not that easy to do because lethality is a high cooldown special. So Claude is able to do that on his first hit, and then on his follow-up attack he can get the special charge before his hit, depending on the total number of bonus status on him subtracted by the special cooldown charge at start of the combat. So a lot of times this is going to be 3 cooldown, which is going to be lethality of course, and that is simply going to be subtracted from the total bonus effects that he has got. So this is going to be minimum 0. So you definitely want to have more status effects on him so that he can get that special cooldown charge before his hits in the combat, and he's pretty self-sufficient with that because he already comes with like 3 status effects that he can get from his kit. So that is really good, and this kind of weapon is going to be making him the lethality king because he's able to trigger lethality twice in the combat, and this is going to be making him an incredibly good unit in like Aether Raids defense, in like Summoner Duels, and Aether Raids offense even, for getting past many of the safe tanks. So it is going to be generally really good for nuking, and then he does have lethality and a new skill in attack speed, Prime 4. Now it is to be seen if this is going to be locked to the range units or not, because if it is not, then this is just like the better distant attack speed solo. So if a bonus status is active on him, then he can get up to +9 attack and speed in the combat. This depends on the number of bonus status that he has got on him, multiplied by 2 and then added by 3. So this can go all the way up to +9. Like I said, so this is not including the visible buffs. Again, keep in mind that this is talking about the bonus status effects like null follow-up, null panic status effect that he gets from his weapon. So all of that does help him. And then if the number of bonus status active on the unit is at or above 4, then he can counterattack regardless of foe's range in the combat. So that is basically like an insane close counter. So that goes really well with the deep star that he has got in his slot B, which I'll talk about more. But yeah, depending on if this skill is inheritable to the other infantry units or not, this is going to be an insane skill because this functions as a distant counter skill as well. And this is going to be better than distant attack speed solo because even though you need the visible status effects for the distant counter or the close counter effect, I think it's worth it because it's not really all that hard to get the bonus status effects with stuff like, Asker with resonant shields, blades, and stuff like that. So I don't think it's too hard to do that. And especially in Aether Raids offense, this is going to be amazing because it does give you more stats compared to any other like distant counter or close counter skill. So it is to be seen how the restrictions play out for this one. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to that. And then he has got an improved version of Fallen Star. If you had told me that he was going to be getting an improved version of Fallen Star like 2 years ago, I wouldn't believe you, but we're pretty much in that metagame right now. So Deep Star is his exclusive skill, which gives him Canto 1, which is really useful for retreating. And then in the player phase, the skill is always going to be active, or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can inflict -5 speed and defense debuff on the foe. And he also gets damage reduction on foe's first attack, both in the player phase and in the enemy phase. So the player phase damage reduction on foe's first attack is going to be 80%, which is really high. And then in the enemy phase, he's able to get 30% damage reduction on foe's first attack. And this does stack up with the other damage reduction effects like Deep Star status, for example. Like it does explicitly say that. And the first attack here does mean both the first and the second hit of your Brave attack. So this means that he's going to be tanking the Brave hits a lot better than the Fallen Star Claudes basically, and that was a weakness of Fallen Star, but now that does not really exist with Deep Star because even against the Brave hits, he's going to be getting the damage reduction. And if he initiated combat, then he's able to get Deep Star status to himself and also inflicts the gravity status on the target and foes within 1 spaces of that target after the combat. And again, Deep Star status is kind of similar to the Fallen Star status, where in the enemy phase for its first combat, you're able to get 80% damage reduction from foe's first attack. And again, the first attack does mean the first and the second hit of the Brave weapons. And he already gets the null follow-up status in his weapon, so doubling him is going to be hard. And a lot of the Brave weapon users cannot really quad attack him that easily. So yeah, Deep Star is going to be giving him a lot of damage reduction. And Deep Star does count as a status, so it does go towards the status effects that you need for attack speed prime 4. So basically with his own kit, in the enemy phase, he's able to get the close counter effect with attack speed prime. So basically you go in with him, kill something with lethality with his insane weapon, and then get the Deep Star damage reduction in the player phase, and then you basically get the damage reduction on foe's first attack with the Deep Star, and you tally it back to them. So you cannot really just attack him with a melee unit and live out of it, because he's going to be having attack speed prime active with the Deep Star and all of the status effects that he gets from his weapon. And attack speed Oath 4 is the perfect Slotsy skill because it's another status effect, which is the Orders effect, which does allow him to teleport. So yeah, this is an amazing kit for an insane nuke like him, and he's gonna be just spamming lethality left, right, and center. And he also has enemy phase potential because of the Deep Star status effect, but of course, it's not the end-all be-all because we have a lot of damage reduction piercing nowadays. So that is something you have to watch out for because that is easily gonna kill him if you don't really watch out for that. So I think he's going to be a lot more useful in the player phase, but still, he does have some enemy phase shenanigans with Deep Star, and here we can see Playful Pinwheel in the action, just triggering lethality so easily. So that is Wind Tribe Claude, and yeah, he just had a lot of effects. And then we have Wind Tribe Dagr, and this Dagr is really fun as a Cavalier. So this time she is a Sword Cavalier. Now we just got Tea Time Ira, and if you compare her to Tea Time Ira, then obviously you're gonna see a lot of gaps, and she's not exactly the destructive powerhouse that Tea Time Ira is. So I think it's more apt to compare her to a lot of the other Gale Force initiators, and I think that she's more useful for Aether Raids offense and Summoner Duels, not for like killing the opponents insanely easily with like her specials like Tea Time Ira, but for providing that support with her slot B skill. So she's got Fuging Uchiwa as her preferred weapon, and this gives her -1 special cooldown, and if her HP is at or above 25%, she can get +5 to all of her stats, and then she can get even more stats in the combat to all of her stats depending on the highest total buffs on herself or foe. So she can already buff herself up with the Alarm attack speed, and if the foe has got any kind of visible buff, then that is also going to be working off of it. And she also has the in-combat panic effect, so she's going to be taking advantage of the visible buffs of the opponent, and at the same time, she's going to be inflicting penalty on all of their stats depending on the visible buffs that they have. So that is really good because visible buffs are pretty common in something like Summer Duels, for example. And a lot of times you see in the light season medias giving that on guard buff. So this kind of in-combat panic is really nice. and then she's able to get 40% damage reduction on foe's first attack, and also get special charges on both her hits and the enemy's attacks. So this is going to be making her a pretty amazing Gale Force initiator in Aether Raids offense, because she can run double Fury build and simply fall into the Wings of Mercy range, and she is going to be providing amazing support with her slot B skill. But yeah, before going to that, she has got Draconic Aura and Attack Speed Flash 4, and then she's got Twin Sky Wing as her preferred slot B skill. So this effect does give her the Pathfinder. So she herself has the Pathfinder effect from this weapon in the combat because of the last line and its description. And then at start of turn, she can grant the Pathfinder status to her support partner for 1 turn. And of course, this is not going to be working if you have got more than 1 support partner, so none of that is going to be allowed. And keep in mind that Citrine's weapon doesn't really work with Pathfinder for spreading that, so they have explicitly stated that beforehand. So this was already planned, like when Citrine came out, which is crazy to me. So yeah, giving Pathfinder status to another unit is really good because it is going to be allowing you to have Cavaliers just go into the enemy lines for something like Aether Raids offense. And this is going to be working really well, especially with like Fallen Crom or like Brave Crom, who can just have the reposition from their assist. And if you've used Brave Seliph and Brave Crom, it is pretty much going to be functioning similar to that, especially with the special charges that she can get. She doesn't really have to rely on Heavy Blade to get the special charges, which is extremely good in this metagame. Unfortunately, she doesn't really have any kind of Null Guard effect, which can hamper her performance as a Gale Force unit. So she's not exactly like an insane nuke like Tea Time Ira, but she's going to be a lot more useful with the Pathfinder status in Summoner Duels on like a Conga line depending on the map, and also with the Eminence Captain skill, which also provides Pathfinder, so you can basically have like double Pathfinder. And she already has Pathfinder herself, so it can be helpful on many of the maps depending on if that map is cavalry favored or not when it comes to Summoner Duels. And I think she's going to be a lot more useful for Aether Raids offense for the Gale Force strategies, because providing Pathfinder to another ally is really good, while also having Pathfinder yourself and then, you know, just initiating with the special charges of hers is going to be pretty nice. And she can get the Canto out of her Alarm attack speed, which is something she's missing in her kit. So that just works off really well for giving her the retreating with the Canto 1. And that is pretty much her kit. So at surface, she might not seem like the most insane unit, but she is going to be pretty fun in Aether Raids offense. But yeah, she's definitely not like an insane melee nuke compared to Spring Carla or like Tea Time Ara that we have got. But still pretty useful, and definitely someone I would really like to use in Aether Raids offense. And then we have got the 4-star focus unit of this banner and the Wind Tribe, Catria. So this time she's a blue bow flyer, and she's going to be the 4-star focus, which means that it is going to be a lot easier for you to plus and merge her. And she comes with an inhittable weapon and White Wind Bow Plus. So this is effective on flying units, of course, and at start of turn, if unit's HP is at or above 25%, then you can get Null Follow-Up status and the Null Panic status for 1 turn. So it's kind of similar to Wind Tribe Claude in that sense. And then at start of combat, if unit's HP is at or above 25%, then you can get extra attack and speed in the combat. The offenses that you get out of this weapon depend on the total number of bonus status effects on the unit and the negative status effects on the enemy, multiplied by 2 and then added by 5. And this doesn't really have any kind of cap, so you can actually get insane amounts of attack and speed in the combat with this kind of inhittable weapon. And this of course does not really include the visible buffs or visible debuffs. It is talking about the positive status effects and the negative status effects. So I think this is an amazing inhittable bow if you don't really have any kind of arcane bow like Arcane Dark Bow. And I think this is pretty good because it does provide you with null follow-up for like an inhittable weapon along with a lot of attack and speed, which is really good. And then she's got a Harsh Command Plus, which is a nice high scoring assist. And then she's got attack speed Cash 3 likely at 4-star, and then speed defense Fortress likely at 5-star. So having a 4-star focus unit with the Fortress skill is really good, and she's gonna be a lot easily mergeable compared to the other units on the banner because of being a 4-star focus. So that is gonna be the Wind Tribe Catria that we have got as the 4-star focus, and she brings some really good stuff with the inheritance with her bow and her slot B skill. And also having the tier 3 version of the cat skill is also really helpful in many inheritance cases. And then finally we have got Duo Kagero with Orochi. Again, another time this year after Tea Time Ira where I wish the backpack unit was actually in front, because I think that Kagero has got a decent amount of ults and Orochi hasn't really gotten one, and she's not really all that popular. compared to like Kagero. So I kind of wish that Orochi was in the front because I like her a lot more. But yeah, this is going to be the duo unit, and she is a Dagger Cavalier, and she's definitely an amazing nuke with her weapon. So she has got Bright Wind Fans, which gives her the Canto Distant Traveled, and this is max up to 3. So this is basically what we have seen on Tea Time Ira, but here it is not Distant Travel +1 and just Distant Traveled. So it is in your best interest to travel all 3 spaces to get Canto 3 basically, and then she can get -1 special cooldown from her weapon, making Lethality into a 3 cooldown special, and she can get +5 to all of her stats and get even more attack and speed in the combat depending on 20% of her visible speed stat. So this is going to be giving her even more speed, and like I said before in Claude section, it is no longer enough to have just like +5 speed. You need to have even more speed in the combat to function as a nuke nowadays, to combat with the speed. And then she also has the Null Guard effect, or the half tempo offensive effect, which allows her to ignore the guard skills of the enemies, which is going to be making her a lot better at triggering lethality than a lot of the Dagger Cavaliers that we have in the game. And then in the player phase, she's able to get 50% damage reduction on foe's first attack, and then she deals true damage on her next attack depending on the total damage reduced. So this is basically the Ice Mirror effect that we have seen on like E3, on Hans, for example. So this does count the damage reduction from other sources like Remote Sparrow, which is going to be her perfect slotty skill. So she's going to be hitting extremely hard if she doubles the enemy and takes a lot of damage. So it is going to be making her a pretty nice nuke in something like Aether Raids defense, and I think she works really well in Aether Raids offense as well because of her Canto, but you definitely have to watch out for Canto control on like Light Season with Medius. And she can also work in Summoner Duels because of being a cavalry nuke, especially with Null Guard and being able to trigger lethality easily. And having the damage reflection is definitely going to be making her pretty strong as a nuke when she double attacks. So I really like that on a ranged unit like her. And then she has got lethality, which is perfect. And Remote Sparrow is just amazing skill with the damage reflection because it does stack up. If you've used Hans, then you already know, but it's just for the player phase for Kagero, which is not bad because she's mostly going to be functioning in like player phase. And then she has got her new slot B skill in Disarm Trap 4. So finally we have Disarm Trap 4. Disarm Trap definitely lost a bit of its value with the Hex Traps. It is still useful, but Disarm Trap 4 is just a lot better. It's not game breaking or like meta defining, I would say, but still it's really good. So it inflicts -4 speed and defense debuff on the foe in the combat. And in the player phase, it gives you the half null follow-up, the offensive half of null follow-up, which is really good for bypassing the follow-up negation effects. And just like Disarm Trap, if you step on a bolt trap or heavy trap, you pretty much cancel out the trap's effect. And now Disarm Trap 4 does have something for the Hex Trap. So if unit ends movement on a space with Hex Trap, it reduces the trap's trigger condition by 10 HP. So right now the max HP you need for bypassing a Hex Trap in Aether Raids is 66 HP, because the max level Hex Trap does activate on 65 HP or less. So pretty much with like 56 HP you're able to bypass a Hex Trap, which is actually not that bad and not really all that hard to get with many of the units like Yuri or like Duonina or with like Kagero for example. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty nice skill if you are going to be using those kinds of dagger hit and run units for stepping on the traps. And obviously this is also going to be helping you get the pots, because many times the pots can be obstructed by the trap. So having this is going to be pretty nice on any kind of dagger unit really that you're going to be using in Aether Raids offense. And it's a lot better now because you actually get the offensive null follow-up at the same time, which is not that easy for many of the flyers or cavaliers. So having this is going to be pretty nice. And then she's got Colorless Feud, which is going to be helpful especially in Aether Raids offense and in Summoner Duels against Fallen Maria teams, which are pretty common. And if you use her in Aether Raids defense, then this is going to be helping you against like Elamine and stuff. So Colorless Feud is actually pretty nice on a nuke like her, just to ignore the support effects of many of the colorless units. So that is going to be her kit, and that is going to be making her a pretty strong nuke, all things considered. And the damage reflection is definitely going to be making her unique. And then she also has the duo button, which is going to be playing a role in Summoner Duels, where it does grant her -1 special cooldown, which makes it pretty easy to trigger lethality. And then she also gets +1 movement. It's just like Duonina. So yeah, that is probably Kagero's thing. And then she also gets the neutralizes foes bonus in the combat as a status. So that is basically the dull status that we have seen on Valuria's weapon. So you can basically get that for one turn and ignore any kind of visible buffs of the enemies. and also get the +1 movement, which is going to be pretty insane. So this is a really good duo button for Summoner Duels. It's a bit selfish in nature where it only helps the unit, but still I think this is going to be amazing on a nuke because having 4 movement is just really good. Movement is always going to be amazing, but it depends on the map if it's a cavalry friendly map or not, but still having this is really nice, and then being able to trigger lethality a lot easily with that duo button is also really good. We also have a Tempest Trial unit in Fuga, and he is an axe infantry unit with heavy blade and threat and attack defense in his base kit, so definitely not the best base kit, but I do like heavy blade because Jomke was the only other Grail unit who had that. And then for his weapon, he basically has a similar weapon to Wind Tribe Catria, but the slower version essentially, with attack and defense in the combat, and instead of having null follow-up status, he gets the player phase guaranteed follow-up attack, which is definitely not as good as the null follow-up status because it is only the player phase guaranteed follow-up attack. If he had like a guaranteed follow-up attack in both phases, that would have been helpful because he's likely going to be slow with high defense, so he's likely going to be better Summer Donald. But yeah, unfortunately another axe infantry unit with inhittable weapon, and not the greatest inhittable weapon. Still, it could be useful with the null panic, and I guess if you want to do the player face shenanigans. And then for the sacred seals from this Tempest Trial, we have got Stillwater 3 and Fortify Beast. So Stillwater is an amazing sacred seal to have on any kind of slower AoE special mage, and if you want to have the resistance check met, then Phantom Resistance is going to be better. But if you still want to have the extra attack, then Stillwater is something that you can run if you want to have like the visible attack. Like Duo Thor, for example, who really likes using AoE specials. This is going to be an amazing skill for her. So Stillwater is a pretty nice sacred seal for the AoE mages. And then we have got Fortify Beast, which is whatever, you at least don't really have to upgrade it. So this banner offers 2 ranged nukes in Duo Kagero and also Wind Tribe Claude, which are really good dagger units. I hope that we can get a Rearm dagger unit so that you can actually duplicate stuff like Disarm Trap 4. And we also have a Gale Force unit and Wind Tribe Dagr. So not the most insane banner, but definitely has strong units. It depends on the orbs that you've got right now, because we're going to be getting the Halloween banner and also a new Heroes banner down this month. And a lot of people have spent a lot of orbs on the Choose Your Legends banner, so I don't think this is going to be the most popular banner that people summon on. But still, this banner does have strong units, even if they're not going to be too meta influential. So let me know what you think about this banner in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps you tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more free videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the Wind Tribe Chieftain being the free unit with no preferred weapon. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.